Hey, friends, welcome back to the self-love series. I'm super excited you guys are here because today we have a topic today that I believe is foundational to getting to your next level. Today we're going to be focusing on how to let go and stop waiting for other people's opinions and start choosing ourselves again. I want you to hear that again. Today we are focusing, yes, team, on how to start choosing ourselves, but most importantly, stop waiting for permission. And when you think of that, I want you to start thinking about your goals, your dreams, those things you're looking to achieve. And I want you to ask yourself this question: what am I waiting on? Who am I waiting for permission to move towards my goals, move towards my dreams? Because that's what we're going to be unpacking today. My goal for you is to leave here with clarity. Most importantly, to leave here with confidence. But most importantly, leave here identifying the barriers to your next level. Because each and every one of us in many areas of our lives are dealing with this same roadblock: permission. I want you to hear that today. Many of us have this in multiple areas of our life. Maybe you can find that in your relationships. Maybe it's in your jobs. Maybe it's in your health. Maybe it's just simply how the way you treat yourself. But today, here, friends, hey, if I haven't introduced myself, my name is Sam. I'm a certified self-love coach. I'm a fitness entrepreneur and the co-creator of the Self-Love 8 Dimensions of Wellness and co-author of the Self-Love Journey to Self-Love, 8 Areas of Self-Love, the Journey to Self-Love. Yes. So I'm super excited you guys are here because today, this isn't just a workshop. This is an opportunity for you to really sit down with yourself and start asking some of the hard questions. Maybe some questions you've been truly avoiding. But it's time to do the work. Because I need you to hear this today. You are the one you've been waiting for. See, I know many areas in my life, I was waiting for permission to pursue my passion. See, even to get to this very point, I was waiting for permission. And I want you to think about where you are, but most importantly, where you want to be in this life. Have you been waiting for permission? Have you been waiting for acceptance? Have you been waiting for the past to finally say yes to yourself? How many of us find ourselves guilty of that? Guilty of waiting for acceptance, waiting for permission, or just simply waiting? And hey, if you're jumping on in here, shoot down in that comment section where you're from, where you're listening at. Share this out to others that you know, like, man, this would be a great message on my page. So just share this out. Make sure you're sharing this live. Like it up for me here so we can make sure we get as many people in here as possible. I want this message. We all need this. It's time to start choosing yourself. I need you to hear that today. But when you hear choosing yourself, what is the emotion that you feel behind that? When you hear choosing yourself, do you think it's selfish? When you hear choosing yourself, do you have a sense of unworthiness? When you hear choosing yourself, do you just find yourself confused? Like, what does that truly mean? Because you've never had that opportunity. It's always been reaching for everyone else but yourself. But today we're going to be talking about how to stop waiting for permission and start choosing ourselves as we move towards the direction of our lives. I'm excited for you to be here. So, hey, shoot down in the comment section where you're joining us in from. I would love to know where you're at, where you've been. But today, here, friends, hey, like I said, we are doing the work today. Who's here ready to do the work? Who's here ready to leave here with some clarity, with some direction, and just knowing where we are at to get to where we want to be? See, I want you to think about our choices dictate our destinies. How long are you willing to go in the wrong direction and expect to truly get to where you want to be? See, when we have clarity, we have confidence. And we have confidence going in the right direction of our lives, that's where the true change starts. Not by hoping, not by wishing, but by choosing one small choice at a time. Who here has confidence in themselves that they can make that one hard choice today? Who's ready to make that one hard choice? That one hard choice to change their lives, that one hard choice to get right back on track, but that one hard choice that you deserve more out of life. Because that's the truth. See, you deserve more. You can wish for more, you can hope for more, but at the end of the day, it comes down to your choice. See, I can't choose that for you. Only you can. So today here, friends, hey, we're going to get into this work. But like I said here, friends, in order for us to move forward, we have to know where we're at. So I want you to grab a piece of paper for me, and I want you to think about some key areas in your life. I want you to think about your job. I want you to look at your finances. I want you to look at your emotions. I want you to look at your we talk about the health, your emotions, your occupational. I want you to start looking at some of these areas of your life. Write that down. Give yourself a little space. Right, my health on there. Right, write my wellness down on that. I want you to put like your relationships down there, your occupation down there. I just want to give you those three key areas. And I want to give you a minute here to really look at some areas in your life, maybe there's more in there, of who are you waiting for permission in certain areas of your life? Like when it comes to your health, are you waiting for the right moment, maybe the right deal, maybe the right workout plan? I want you to start looking at some of these levers that we're waiting for permission on. So I'm going to give you a minute here. I want you to write this down because I want you to enter in today with clarity, not to truly know where we're at so we can get to where we want to be. Get into this bad boy. Hey, friends, welcome back. I hope you had a chance to kind of maybe really reflect on some of these areas we've been waiting for permission in our lives. If you don't mind, I'd love you to shoot that down in the comment section. Maybe just some areas you're like, man, I'm actually seeking more approval in here. I'm going to give you guys a second just to shoot. I want to read just a few of them here. If you're, like I said, if you're jumping on in here, let me know where you're at, where you're from. Just share this out to the live. Share this out so we get as many people. So just spread this message to truly enter into each and every day with this clarity, with this confidence, but most importantly, realize that we are the authors and finishers of our life. So, hey, all right, friends, so I'm super excited you guys are here. Oh, okay, so let's see. We got, what we have, physical. Okay, so you said physical. So in our physical domain, what do we have here? Oh, okay. I see that, Sarah. Oh, Sarah says, in the physical area is finding the right workout program. And that's great. I love that because many of us are looking for that perfect program, right? We're looking for the perfect thing. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. I love that. Like, that's an area she's looking for, permission in. Do I have the right workout plan to get to my goals? And I think many of us have found ourselves as a trainer. I know exactly what you're looking for. I know as a trainer, I've heard that many times. You're waiting for permission for the right workout plan. Okay, what do we got here? Okay, Scott says, okay, hey, he says family, looking for permission as family, to kind of move on. Okay, that's awesome. Hey, that's truth. We do seek approval from others around us. We do look for permission, right? That's so true. There's many times where we're waiting for permission from especially maybe it's like your significant other or, to find a better job or I want you to start thinking about where in our lives are we waiting for permission for things. But I love that. Thank you guys for sharing that, Sarah and Scott. I appreciate y'all guys. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys for sharing that. All right, friends. Hey, we're gonna dive on into today, and we're starting off right here, friends. I want you to hear this today. It says it's time to stop waiting for permission. I need you to hear that. As we enter into this day, it's time to stop waiting for permission. This is a manifesto of choosing yourself, finding your own authority, and building a life that you actually want. Who's ready for that today? To build a life that you really want. I'm excited for you guys because that's the choice you get to make today. The choice to truly build something that you actually want. And when you hear that, when you look at your life today, are you doing that? Are you honoring yourself in that way by building something that's authentically you? I want you to hear that again. Building a life authentically you. Not what the world tells you. When I hear authentically, I'm thinking not what somebody told you should be, but being who you knew you were meant to be. And I believe that when we unpack that like that, when we're living a life in alignment with who we're meant to be, we allow others to do the same. I want you to hear that again. When we are living authentically who we are meant to be, we allow others to do the same. And that's a gift that just keeps on giving. So, all right, team, hey, we're going to get right into it. Like I said, you're not stuck where you are. I love this quote by Wayne Dyer. It says, you are not stuck where you are unless you decide to be. I want you to hear that again to really let that sink in. You are not stuck where you are unless you decide to be. And many of us, how many of us, when we look at where we're at and we look at the distance of where we want to be, we feel stuck. How many of us have felt that before? Stuck in our jobs, stuck in relationships, stuck in careers, stuck in places that we don't meant to be. But I really want you to hear this. I really love this quote because I think many of us, like, we find ourselves stuck, but we're not taking the accountability of that. That is still a decision. Stuck is a decision. And I love it says, the external authority myth. See, you are waiting for someone to give you the green light, to change your life. You want an authority figure to validate your exhaustion, approve your ambition, and tell you it's finally okay to prioritize yourself. But here's the harsh, liberating truth. No one is coming to give you permission. You have been conditioned to seek an authority outside of yourself, but you are the only authority of your life. I need you to hear that today. You are the only authority in your life. And how many of us, when you heard that, it's kind of humbling, right? When you really start thinking about the only person who has placed me in this situation is me. I need you to hear that today. We're not stuck where you are unless you decided to be. And I think it's when we take that mindset shift that if I'm not where I want to be, I'm no longer stuck, but the moment I make that decision, I can set myself free. I believe it really changes the dynamic. So as we start looking at that list, like, we had some of those areas where we feel kind of like we are waiting for permission to move forward. I want you to flip the script and say, it's me. See, today is about taking your power back, but taking your power back by choosing yourself again. Now, I love this analogy here. It says, the illusion, and it's one of my favorite analogies, it's the illusion of the locked door, right? Life is like standing at a door, waiting for someone to open it. But the handle is already on your side. See, this is one of my favorite quotes by Jay Shetty. He says, imagine your goals. This massive door you've been knocking, hoping, wishing, dreaming, waiting for somebody to open the door for you. But then you realize that the handle's always been on your side. And I want you to think about the handle towards your goals, the handle towards your dreams, the handle towards the things you're looking to achieve. Are you waiting for permission, assuming you're locked out? You aren't. You are just simply refusing to turn the handle. I want you to hear that today. That's a hard truth, right? That goal that you've been reaching for, that thing that you think is outside of your reach, that mission you know your heart wants, but you haven't taken that first step. It's that door you've been knocking and knocking on, waiting for someone to answer. But the handle's always been on your side. We assumed we were going to have a key to get in. But we just simply had to take that step and twist that handle and realize that it's up to me. And the moment we realize that we have that power to step through that door, that's when you set yourself free. But I want you to hear this today, team. Nope. We're right here. Okay, the anatomy of the permission trap. You see, the permission trap diagnoses us as humility. Fear of visibility. Courage starts with showing up and setting ourselves to be seen. That's what I love this quote by Brené Brown. Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. Isn't that powerful? How courage demands you to just show up. Fear of disappointing others, we play a small to avoid the responsibility of stepping into our power and making ourselves our own choices. And isn't that true? How fear of disappointing others, fear of not living up to other people's expectations truly makes us shrink, makes us feel small. But I love that stepping into your true power and making our own choices really takes the power back. Or maybe it's fear of judgment. Our deepest, I love this quote by Marianne Williams right here. I think this is the most powerful quote. And our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are more powerful than beyond measure. Isn't that a powerful quote right there by Marianne Williamson? I want you to hear that again to really let that sink in. Our deepest fear isn't that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're more powerful than we could ever imagine. And when you hear that quote, how does that make you feel? Like when I hear that quote, it almost feels like, man, I've been sitting on the power plant hoping for the power. Imagine being plugged into the power plant, but you never turned the light switch on, so the lights never came on. That's when I hear that quote, I feel like, man, I've been holding the power. I've had the power the entire time, but I never had the courage to go to the light switch to flip it on. And that's what many of us are doing in our lives. We have the power to change the trajectories of our lives. We've always been connected, but we never twisted the handle. We never turned on the light switch. We never believed. But I love this here. Who is asking the questions? And I really love this Eckhart Tolle's framework here. He says, the ego voice, the root, fear of judgment, and external validation. The presence voice is this, internal alignment and awareness. The ego voice says, the core question, what will people think? The presence voice is this, what feels true right now? Isn't that powerful? I want you to hear that voice. How many can identify with some of these voices? The ego voice says the result, paralysis, waiting for an external authority to say it's okay. The presence voice, the result, action, recognizes that you are the ultimate permission granter. I want you to hear that today. Action recognizes that you are the ultimate permission granter. See, we've been waiting for permission, but the true power is only in your hands. But the ego is always there to hold us back in fear, hold us back in doubt, hold us back waiting for external authority to say it's okay. But I want you to hear this today, that you are the one that you've been waiting for. How many of us can identify with some of those things that the ego says? Like, what will they think? Are they right? What will they tell people? But I really love that. What feels right to me right now? I think that's so powerful, having these little mindset shifts. And I want you to start looking at some of those barriers you're going to have to overcome, or realize that it's time to step forward, believing in you again. But like it right here, friends, I love this. It says the 3 domains of permission. And it starts right here. The domain. We're going to talk about rest here first. The domain of rest. The conditioned belief and the root fear. It says the belief is, I'll rest when everything is done. Fear, being seen as lazy or unworthy. And how many of us find that? When it comes to rest, we feel unworthy of rest. We feel like, well, my job isn't done yet. Or being seen as lazy or unworthy. And here's a reframe. Rest is a requirement, not a reward. I need you to hear that today. Rest is not a requirement. It is a requirement. I need you to hear that. Rest is a requirement, not a reward. It's just simply something we need as human beings. And the master's insight here, it says, breathing in, I calm my body by Thich Nhat Hanh. I love this. It says, breathing in, I calm my body. That's that master insight about rest. And now we're going to go to change, the domain of change. What is the conditioned belief and the root fear, right? It says, I must stay consistent with who I was. And the fear is this: judgment, betrayal, expectations. How many of us are trying to live up to people's past expectations of us, fearing that we'll lose their acceptance, maybe their friendship, maybe their permission? But I really love this reframe. It says, familiar doesn't mean you're aligned. I need you to hear that again. Familiar doesn't mean it's aligned. Just because you're comfortable there, like we learned last week, not only will you not grow, but that day we're learning about doesn't necessarily mean you're aligned. But here's that master insight by Sarah Jakes Roberts. She says this: you're allowed to outgrow who you used to be. Ooh, that's a powerful quote. I really love that quote by Sarah Jakes Roberts. It says, you are allowed to outgrow who you used to be. See, I want to tell you something about myself for a long time, as I used to strive to be super consistent. I used to strive to be this person. This is how I will react. This is how I will respond. This is who I am. So I found myself having to live up to this expectation in every situation, never fully allowing myself to grow. But it was until I truly allowed myself to outgrow who I used to be that I was able to step forward into who I was meant to be. I need you to hear that today. It was when I was allowed to outgrow who I used to be, I allowed myself to step in who I was meant to be. See, those go hand in hand, but that choice is yours to make. And I want to talk about that next domain. We're going to talk about prioritizing. You know, here is our conditioned belief and our root fear. Our conditioned belief and our root fear. It says, belief, putting myself first is selfish. I want you to hear that today. How many of us, when we hear self-love, self-care, putting ourselves first, the first thing you think is selfishness? And here's the root fear: rejection, disappointing others. Maybe it goes back to, what will they think of me? Being seen as unworthy. But I really love the reframe. It says, you cannot pour from an empty cup. I know we've heard that before, but I think just because it's common sense doesn't necessarily mean it's common practice. We live in a culture that keeps on telling us to push, 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 push. And if you're resting, like we talked about, maybe you're lazy. If you're resting, you should be exhausted. If you're resting, who do you think you are? But I love that. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And I really love that master insight from Deepak Chopra. He says, self-awareness is the beginning of self-mastery. Ooh, I love that quote right there. Self-awareness is that truly the beginning of self-mastery. I want you to think about that today. What reframe do you need when it comes to selfishness? Are you feeling selfish? Are you feeling like these, when you hear these root beliefs, I will rest when everything's done? How many times have you been told that? Are you telling yourself? Are you just saying to yourself, I need to be consistent with who that person is to live up to the expectations of others? Are you still putting yourself first, feeling like it's selfish? Because today is time to reframe it and know that you cannot pour from an empty cup. And most importantly, that familiar does not mean it's aligned. And most importantly, that rest is a requirement, not a reward. But I really love this quote right here. It says, you are allowed to outgrow who you were meant to be. I love that quote by Sarah Jakes Roberts because that's so true. How many of us are trying to uphold old standards that are no longer aligned with the person that we're looking to be? But most importantly, that self-awareness is the beginning of self-mastery. And that's exactly what I'm hoping you're building here today. Is that a wellness? We're starting that road to self-mastery. But all right here, friends, I want you to hear this. The battleground. Number one, the permission to rest. We are conditioned to believe we must break ourselves to prove our worth. We must tell ourselves we will rest when everything is done. But how many of us know that everything is never done? How many of us have been saying, I'll rest when I'm done, and it's 5 years later? I found myself in that many times. I'm saying, I'll rest when I'm done, and I realize that there's things that I miss, moments I've missed because I would say, I'll rest when I'm done. But I love this quote by Thich Nhat Hanh. He says, a tree does not apologize for being still. It rests and grows at the same time. And here's the reframe I want you to hear. Rest is not weakness. Your body requires stillness to function properly. In the midst of movement and chaos, keep still inside of you. I want you to hear that today. In the midst of chaos, keep stillness inside of you. And I think that's a powerful reframe because that's a simple choice. I think many times we find ourselves in challenging situations and opportunities where maybe you feel like if I slow down, who will take care of it? If I slow down, or maybe you find yourself as a solo entrepreneur, and you're like, well, who else will do this? That slowing down will speed things up. Because like we talked about, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And if you're entering into these exhausted, you can only go so far. I really love that quote, like it says right here. I really love that. It says, a tree does not apologize for being still. It rests, it grows at the same time. And how many of us know that? That we can rest and be still and still grow at the same time. That movement doesn't always mean progress. But it's the stillness we can still find strength. But I love this here. Battleground number 2, the permission to change. I want you to hear this today. Like we're talking about, looking for that permission to change. How many of us are still finding that? Like when you hear permission to change, like, whoa, this is something serious here. Permission to change, familiarity, the past. And evolution is present awareness. People stay in the old version of themselves because it feels safe and familiar. But familiar doesn't mean aligned. Like we talked about earlier, just because this is the way it's always been done doesn't mean it's aligned with the vision of where you want to be. But most importantly, I love that it says familiar does not mean aligned. And I want you to think about this. Number 1, it says your identity is not fixed. You are not your past. You are your present awareness. I love that quote by Eckhart Tolle. And then number two, he says, I love this one by Wayne Dyer. He says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I want you to think about how are you looking at the obstacles, the challenges in your life so far? Are we finding ourselves looking in the past? Because that will hold you back. But I love this one right here by Marion Williamson. It says, your growth is not betrayal of your past. As you let your own light shine, you unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. Isn't that powerful? I need you to hear that again. Your growth is not a betrayal of your past. As you let your own light shine, you unconsciously give others permission to do the same. I love that quote. And I want you to think about that. As we are authentic to ourselves, we allow others to do the same for themselves. See, you can be the spark that sets the flame towards somebody else's destiny. But realizing that spark starts with you. See, many of us are looking outside of ourselves, but I want you to start looking on the inside. Most importantly, realize that you're the one you've been waiting for. And the only true person who can give you permission is you. So I ask you this question. Are you willing to say yes to you? And now we're going to go right back to it, friends. We got that battleground right here. We're talking about permission, right? To prioritize yourself. I need you to hear this today. How many of us are waiting for permission to prioritize ourselves when it comes to our goals, our dreams, those things we're looking to achieve? But I want to talk about that empty cup method, right? The empty cup. If you don't fill your own cup up, you will start asking others to do it for you. That leads to dependency and disappointment. Woo, isn't that powerful? I need you to hear that again. The empty cup. If you don't fill your own cup, you will start asking others to do it for you. And that leads to dependency and disappointment. And how many of us look at our goals and dreams this year so far and realize I've been asking for others to fill my cup, feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, burnt out. It's usually a sign that somebody else is filling your cup and not you. But see, we were looking to pour from the overflow. I love the overflow cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup. When you prioritize yourself, you show up better for others. I need you to think about that. When you fill your cup, you can start pouring from the overflow. And I really love this reframe. It says, humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself as C.S. Lewis says, prioritizing yourself isn't arrogance. It's a necessary balance required to actually serve the world. And I want you to think about that. Are you looking to serve the world with your job, your goals, your dreams? But are we pouring from the overflow? Is our cup running over? Or are we pulling from dependency, hoping for them to fill it on their way? Isn't that powerful? But I want you to think about that. I really love what Brené Brown, she talks about the anatomy of vulnerability. Like, we're going to have to be vulnerable to really start to spark change in our lives. Like I said, we're doing the work today. It's going to be some vulnerable work here, friends. But I love what she says here. She says, waiting feels safe. Choosing yourself feels risky. When you finally stop waiting for permission, your body will rebel. You'll feel vulnerable, embarrassed, frustrated. But I want you to think about that. That unpleasant feeling, it only lasts 90 seconds. And I know we talked about this last year, but I need you to hear this today. See, many of us are letting that 90 seconds turn into a week. Let that 90 seconds turn into 2 hours. Let that 90 seconds turn into a month. Let that 90 seconds turn into a year, letting that 90 seconds dictate our life. But I need you to hear this. And it only lasts 90 seconds. And this is that biological rule. Choice, 8 feelings, 90 seconds. If you can experience and move through 8 unpleasant feelings, you can pursue anything you want in life. The chemical wave is an emotions last just 90 seconds. So Dr. Joan Rosenberg said, it's time to start riding the wave. I think many times we We find the wave, but we stay in the wave and we let the wave carry us throughout the day. But kind of like when you have that wave analogy, what comes up must come down. And so can we. We don't have to stay up there, but we realize as we come down, we can be in control and ride the wave. But I really love that. Time to be more vulnerable with ourselves. Here we go, team. All right, here, friends, the confidence and action paradox. You see, it's on a continual loop. We wait for permission, wait to feel confident, and then we never act. How many of us found ourselves there? Where we're, that conditioned loop that we're conditioned right here, results stack in the familiar. I love how it says that, because we're always waiting for permission. And then we wait to feel content, confident, and then we never act. But I love how the mastery loop works. We decide to act without permission. Experience 90 seconds of discomfort. Identify the shift. The confidence is built. And we decide and we keep that circle going. See, I love how it says this. You do not build confidence first. You build confidence by acting. Action creates identity. Ooh, I need you to hear that today. You do not build confidence first. You build confidence by acting. And by acting, actions create your identity. And I think it's a two-way streak right there because, we hear that our actions create our identity, but so does not acting. Many of us are, letting our actions of fear, our actions of doubt, our actions of uncertainty lead us towards a direction that we don't even want to go. We're asking for more, wishing for more, hoping for more, but not doing more and wondering why things don't change. I want to say one of my favorite quotes of Albert Einstein. He says, what is the definition of insanity? It's simply doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And how many of us find ourselves in situations like that? We're doing the same thing, expecting a different result, and things aren't changing. We find ourselves in that continuum of setting goals, hoping for confidence, and never taking that true step. But I love how that paradox says. It's just simply, we take that step. We can anticipate that 90 seconds of discomfort, but on the other side, that confidence happens, right? And then that's where things truly start to change. But I love that here. It's time for this here team. It is time right here. This official. It's time for you to start. Issue your own authority today. Issue your own ticket today when it comes to your goals. It's time to give yourself your first permission slip. And it starts with you right now. I want you to take that permission slip. I want you to write this down. I want you to write these things down here, team. I want you to write this down. Start giving yourself permission right here, right now, team. It starts right here. It says official permission slip. I want you to write this down. Write this down. Say it out loud to create a psychological commitment. And 3, take exactly one action today that honors this slip. And here's your permission. I, Sam, give myself permission to choose myself today. Circle 1, rest, change, or prioritize myself. And who's going to authorize by yourself? I need you to write this permission slip to yourself and carry this with you. I carry mine with me in my wallet. Take a screenshot of this if you like. But I want you to write this down, right? Write that statement down. I blank give myself permission to blank my today. In circle 1, is it rest, change, or prioritize myself? And I want you to be the authorized. It's time to start authorizing your goals today, team. Write that down. But hey, at the end of the day, staying the same is a real risk. Let's assess the real risk here. See, the true risk is not taking action. The true risk is staying the same. See, we are too far easily pleased, like C.S. Lewis says. We settle for comfort instead of stepping into what we're truly capable of. You can't go back to change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. So today here, friends, if you're tired of waiting, if you're tired of putting your life on hold, if you're ready to choose yourself, I can help you. I have 2 coaching spots available. Just DM me permission and let's talk about it. Let's make this the moment where you start to choose yourself and stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for someone else to approve you today. and start stepping back into your power. So if you like that, I have free some slots open. So please just DM me permission. Shoot me down in that comment section, and we'll have somebody reach out to you as well. But yes, team, it's time to start choosing yourself. I want you to hear that today. It's time to start choosing yourself today, team. But most importantly, realizing that choice starts with you. I want you to hear that today. It's time to start choosing you when it comes to the direction towards your goals. Choosing you when it comes towards your dreams. Choosing you knowing that you are the one you've been waiting for. See, many of us have been knocking on the door of our lives, hoping someone would answer, but you hold the key the entire time. So I hope you step in today with that strength, step in today with that power, but step into that day realizing that you are the one that you've been waiting for. But most importantly, that's one choice away from changing your life. I really love that quote by Marianne Williamson saying, we are not more so afraid of what we will become, but we're more so afraid that we are more powerful than we could only imagine. And I want you to think about, why hold back now when you can be who you were meant to be? But realizing that being who I was meant to be starts with me. So step into this day with that power, step into this day with that strength, but step into this day knowing that good things are meant for you. Take care.